All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you on this Saturday, 21st of September. One more week for the end of the month, and I will be on my way to Asia. Yes, indeed. So it's getting closer. So excited to be with you. I hope your weekend is going very, very well and peaceful, relaxing. So, got an interesting topic. Talk about the attack of the Hezbollah on the military headquarters in northern Israel. So, very, very important dynamics that I decided last night. I did some read up on it and all that, and I wanted to share. So, this live here might be very short. When I say short, I'm probably 30, 35 minutes, whatever. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So, in the meantime, just make sure you guys prepare some questions by the end of this because I want to answer some of your questions. So, by the way, someone got upset that I'm drinking tea while I'm doing live stream. Well, get over it, okay? Just some stupidity. I mean, I don't get it. Don't people have common sense? You're only gonna drink tea in my case if you're sick. You're anyway. You forgive ignorance. So, all right, let me see who's here, and I'll say hi quickly to, like I always do. Hang NG, good to see you as always. You to you, super. Elisa Lewis, hi to you as well. Antonio, hi doctor, take my phone name. What do you mean by that? I don't quite understand this one here. You want me read your name? Antonio Alexander Danielson, is that what you meant? Anyway, Cosmic Allen, good to see you from BC. Good to have you here from BC. Brianna Olivia, Alexi Rose, and Li Yang. And of course, Hamad Sidi. Thank you so much for your super sticker yesterday, man. It means a lot to me, and I'm very, very grateful to you, Hamad. Coach Ahoy, as always. Muslim Revert. Who else? Do all things with love. Army with harmony. Good to see you as well, guys. All right, let's get into our topic because I'm going to address two main things. One of them has to do with the targeting of the headquarters, and the other one has to do with the recent pager explosions that took place in Lebanon. So I'm just going to try provide you some analysis. I thought about it last night, whether to do this or not. Then I decided, no, I'm going to do it because you need to understand the updates of what's going on as things move into a different direction. And they are moving into a different direction when it comes down to Israel and Hezbollah. So, as a matter of fact, the recent U.S. envoy to Lebanon sort of has to say, well, there will be no escalation. No. He's lying. The signs, at least for me, the way I see it, are moving into this direction. And I would like also to have your feedback on that as well. So here are the questions we're going to ask. 3 questions. How significant is this attack? Because remember, it targeted the headquarters, military headquarters, and I'll tell you why as we move forward. Second question is why the military intelligence headquarters specifically. So third question is signs for the inevitable open conflict. In other words, are we seeing signs for the inevitable conflict? So, and this is what I intend to address in this. By the way, guys, before I forget, remember tomorrow, be on the lookout for a video I'm going to be releasing at 07:30 in the morning. And second thing is I will be preparing my conversation with Kaza for next weekend. Hopefully he's feeling better after the accident, and I look forward to having our monthly conversation. So here is what happened between yesterday afternoon, early morning, and afternoon. So I have a picture here. By the way, this couldn't identify exact location. So I am using the picture, but I cannot confirm 100% that's what it is for the headquarters. So what Hezbollah ended up doing, it announcing the bombing of the Israeli intelligence headquarters. And this Israeli intelligence headquarters responsible for one specific task. And that task is taking out individuals. So, or you can use the term assassination. That's what it is. So what Hezbollah ended up doing is firing about over 200 rockets in the morning of Friday. So that's what happened in the morning. So in the afternoon, of course, Israel had to react for that one and react with the bombing, reacted to the bombing of the military intelligence by targeting certain location. And I have a picture. I think I do have a picture here. No, I don't. I don't have it. So anyway, Israel end up retaliating because of what the Hezbollah did. Well, Hezbollah, of course, attacked the military headquarters because of the assassination of Ibrahim Aqil. I'll show you a picture of him. Here's Ibrahim Aqil. That's the one. So you're gonna wonder, of course, who is Ibrahim Aqil? And it's worth knowing a little bit about the guy. I read his bio back then, so I'm kind of a little familiar with his background. Remember, I used to work in Washington. You kind of my background within the intelligence community had to deal with this kind of stuff. So who is Ibrahim? Ibrahim Aqil. Well, Ibrahim Aqil is considered the military leader within the Hezbollah rank. So was back. I think was born. He's like late 50s, early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. So, and that's the one the Israelis decided to take out. Of course, they took before him the commander of the military council, which was his name, Fuad Shukr. You all remember that, and I did talk about this one here. So, well, what's interesting about Ibrahim? So, as I mentioned, he joined Hezbollah back in the 80s, way back. That's how far back he goes. And he did participate in certain operations that Hezbollah conducted back in the 80s. One of the interesting aspects of this is that he was part of the team that claimed the responsibility for the bombing. What happened then? I'm going to ask you guys a question. What happened in Beirut in 1983? You should know. All right. Type in the chat box, guys, if you know what happened in Beirut in 1983. Oh, Rafael Ligon, thank you so much for your super sticker. You wrote, because Putin is a timid soul, all the rest of the people cannot figure out what to do. Putin is very bad for the moment, too chicken to be in charge. I see your point, what you're saying, but on the other hand, I'm going to tell you that Putin is being strategic. You're going to have to think about the consequences of any action on a larger scale. That's the way I see it. So, but thank you so much, Rafael. Truly appreciate you. All right, let me see what happened. What did you go? Hang NG 83, new prime minister, Beirut. Okay, but there was another major event took place. Taiwan still, you got it. Bombed the attack on the U.S. base. Yeah, is the bombing of the U.S. barracks in Beirut on April 1983. So Ibrahim, what's his name? Aqil. I'm sorry. Ibrahim Aqil was part of that team that took that. Of course, 63 military servicemen were killed and 52 Lebanese also employees died on that. So now also because of this attack on the U.S. Marine barracks in actually 241 U.S. military personnel were killed on that one. This is why Ibrahim Aqil has been around, and the Israelis were aware of his involvement, and they just were waiting on the right moment, I guess. Now, here is what happened. The U.S. authorities also accused Ibrahim of contributing to taking American and German hostage in Lebanon, especially when you consider the German hostage Rudolf Cordes, and Alfred Schmidt. I do remember that case. So they both were kidnapped in January 1987 in the Lebanese capital, Beirut. So the U.S. didn't forget that one. So this is one of just the basic stuff I need you to at least understand who this guy is and why Israel targeted this guy, took him out. So Hezbollah rather decided to respond by attacking the military headquarters for the Israelis. So now, of course, this comes on the heels of two main things. And the two main things, of course, that happened before was both of them has to do with the Houthis. Well, the Houthis, of course, they launched an attack on Tel Aviv with a missile there, right? And the second thing is that the Houthis just last week downed another drone by the U.S., the USMQ-9 drone. They down it. And how did they down it? They down it with a surface-to-air missile. That tells you the capability where they are. This is, by the way, the head of the military in the Houthis, his name is Sari, said that the drone, I quote, the drone was the third of its kind that shut down by our group in a week, and the 10th since the battle began, end of quote. So what does it tell me? It tells me that the Houthis have in their possession some advanced surface-to-air missiles. That's how they were able to do this. Now, we go back to our original question. Why did Hezbollah target the military headquarters? Well, before we do this, you need to understand, first of all, let me show you the map here, just for you to know where everything is. This is a map of the part of Lebanon, a part of Syria on the right, and of course the Golan Heights here and the northern Israel. So Tyre is one of the city, a major one in southern Lebanon. So is Samar, and of course Beirut. That's when you go up into the north. So the important things about these maps here, to highlight to you the proximity. And by the way, I give credit to the Economist for this map here, because that's the map. If you notice here, where you see Lebanon, you see the Golan Heights, and you see West Bank. So the proximity is so close, and this is why Israel now will have to think twice about going on into Lebanon. There are now retired Israeli generals are advocating against going into Lebanon, because it will be a major problem for Israel. So, but first, let me give you a brief history about the structure of them. I'm familiar with it, of course, with the intelligence community in Israel. So it's divided. There are about 4, when not 3 main ones. You're talking about Amman, you're talking about Shin Bet, and you're talking about Mossad. So for Amman is considered the military intelligence. When I was in the military, in our military, I was part of the military intelligence for the U.S., the U.S. backbone for that. That's why my unit was an MI 312. So Amman is the military intelligence branch of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. And what is its mission? Its mission specifically is to supply and provide the government, this is the Israeli government, and the IDF with intelligence warning and alerts. So those ones pertain to certain aspects of military nature. So, of course, I don't know in this case if they did provide a warning to the Israeli government when the Houthis launched that hypersonic or that missile, sonic, I'm sorry, the missile they did. So what Amman, the unit that is the military intelligence unit in Israel, end up doing is it provides like some sort of like the PDB, what we have here in the US, PDB, the Presidential Daily Briefing. So what the Amman does, it produces the National Intelligence Briefing for the Prime Minister's office and the cabinet and so on so forth. So Amman uses, like any other entity within the military, it uses some capabilities, like, for example, territorial flights, like, for example, aerial recons, and of course had its own military attaches in the Israeli embassies around the world. That's usually there are 3 main units within Amman. One of them, the first one is 8200, unit 8200. Then there is unit 9900, and the last unit is unit 504. Most countries have their own unit that deals with that. And of course, for me as a former SIGINT, because this particular entity here deals exactly with what I used to do with the SIGINT intelligence. So the collection of signals. This has to do with also the code encryption. That's what a man does. Then you have Shin Bet. Shin Bet is considered the domestic. That's the one that keeping Israel safe domestically. In other words, Shin Bet deals with internal counter espionage, in a short word, or short description, that is. So think of them like the FBI, because that's what their role inside Israel is. And the third one is the Mossad. Think of Mossad like the Central Intelligence Agency. Mossad agents usually collect intelligence. They do cover ops. They engage in counterterrorism and so forth. So that's what I want you just to get an idea of, at least the structure of these three main elements within the structure of the Israeli intelligence community. So you have Aman, you have Shin Bet, and you have Mossad. And there is a great article out there. I'm going to provide you the link, guys. It was written by James Calderon. I had a chance to read it. It's spot on and very well researched. So I will provide you the link to that. So now let's go back to our conversation about the attack of the Hezbollah on the military headquarters, the military intelligence headquarters of the Israel, that is. So what Hezbollah ended up saying is that it's fighters that targeted that intelligence headquarters. Why? Because to them, it's the base where the assassinations are plotted, they are prepared, and so forth. And this one, when you look at the map, and I'm going to try to show this one here, but it won't show the detailed locations. It's just to highlight to you the proximity within southern Lebanon and northern Israel. And this one, why as a matter of fact, the Israeli army detected about 20 rockets launched from southern Lebanon into upper Galilee. When you look at the map, it doesn't show there, guys. I am sorry. It doesn't show the name Galilee. You will see it on the map. But just to highlight to you once again, the proximity, that's how close that is. So the idea of attack, and this has been reported inside Israel, so it's nothing new. You take, for example, Channel 14 in Israel, Channel 13 in Israel. But as a matter of fact, to my knowledge, based on my own reading, Channel 13 disclosed that about 200 rockets have been fired on Friday morning, yesterday morning, towards Israel. So, and this is where that's lead to this idea of where things are headed. Of course, Hezbollah had to retaliate against the targeting or the assassination of Ibrahim Aqil. And that's exactly where things are moving. Even if you take the Israeli newspaper, the Haaretz, for example, it published a report that was written by Amir Oren. So why is that important for you to know? Because Amir, he wrote, and I read it, it is spot on. He's warning against the return of the Israeli army into Lebanon. He went as far as describing those who are calling for, let's go and invade Lebanon. He called them the enthusiasts. I put this in brackets because that's his word. So he's saying that this return, it will be like playing with an uncontrollable fire. And he's spot on, because he's not the only one saying this. Retired generals in Israel are saying the same, because the capabilities and strength of Hezbollah have changed in the last 10 years, last decade. And this is why the current tensions that exist between Israel and Hezbollah is the potential, I would say, the potential repercussions of this. So any military intervention of Israel into southern Lebanon ain't going to bode well. That means what, guys? As an analyst, I will look at it this way. That means that Israel has to shift from Gaza, meaning forget about Gaza, all the way to northern Israel. Well, how can you shift from something you didn't control or end up defeating or win or even done with? Because so far, it's been proven that Israel couldn't defeat the group in Gaza, Hamas that is. So how can you just leave that and resolve and go to northern Lebanon, which means Israel will have two fronts. While he couldn't even defeat Hamas in Gaza, what makes them think that they can afford two fronts? And this is where the thinking of the Israelis cabinet in terms of, oh, the US is going to do our war for us. Because that's what the thinking that exists. So, and this is why I'm saying again, you have to think in terms of, is this signs for an escalation on the horizon? So, and remember, Hezbollah is armed to the teeth. Hezbollah didn't show, it didn't show all its cards. Houthis did so far with one aspect, because you start to wonder if the Houthis are able to down an MQ-9. If you know the specs about MQ-9 and the capability and the how high it goes, whatever, you have to have a surface to air missile to bring that thing down. Houthis have it. So what makes us think that Hezbollah is not in possession of even some advanced type of systems? That just and this is the question for you guys, just yes or no. Do you believe Israel will move forward into Lebanon? Yes or no? In other words, will enter Lebanese territory, southern Lebanon? Yes or no? Let me just see your answer here. Okay, John Smith, you say yes. Karakulak, you say yes. Johnny Dodger, you say no. Jawad Habib, you say yes. Khadija, you say yes. KL, you say no. Jesus Aguilar, you say yes. Mukhatar, you say no. Jamie Dodger, you say no. Whitey, you say yes. So that's my point, guys. Just to highlight to you, there is this division that exists between those who are saying the possibility is there of Israel going into Lebanon, but there are others who are saying we don't think so. It's because if Israel couldn't even deal with Gaza, how can they manage dealing with Hezbollah? And it's hard to tell. At least to me, the signs that I'm reading is that they wanted to do this, but they want the Americans to do it for them. That's how I'm seeing it. And given where we are with the election, presidential elections and so forth, I don't see that happening. I recall one comment from Hank. Actually, we have it right here in front. Let me just put it up for you guys, because I do remember reading this one. And I'll share it with you guys on the screen right here. From Hank, he wrote, September, Russia and China have deployed military assets into Iran. The US and NATO have similarly deployed military hardware and troops into Israel. Shooting war, US, NATO versus Russia, China. And this is why I'm saying, should Israel decide to move into Lebanon, ain't gonna be limited to just that territory. It's gonna expand, and you're gonna have the involvement of other key players, global one that is. So good point, Hank. I couldn't agree more, and I can see why that is. So, oh, Boone, good to see you, Boone. Thank you for your super sticker, and you put I made it online again. Hello and greetings to you. Good to see you, Boone. And also want to say thank you to Daniela Mados Carter. Truly appreciate your super sticker, Daniela. Thank you so much. So, and here is the thing we need to consider again. If the widening of this conflict, if Israel goes, but Israel is betting on the Americans to do it for them. So, and given a lot of questions are now being raised inside the United States from those who are familiar with what's going on around the world. Most Americans, and I'll say it, I don't shy away. I don't mean disrespect for my fellow citizens here. It's just they are oblivious to what's going on. And let's just say it straightforward. They are ill-informed, and they choose to be ill-informed. When you start consuming information from the mainstream, they ain't gonna tell you the truth. They won't. That's why they won't be able to understand these dynamics. That what Israel wants, it was the US to do the bidding for it. As a matter of fact, Israel will even hope for the wishful a war that it wants the US to have against Iran. This is how I see it rolling into that direction, and it will be very, very, very concerning and scary to me, because if this to go, it's gonna go outside the parameters of southern Lebanon. I know this for a fact. So now this is gonna lead me to talk to, as I mentioned earlier, that somehow you have analysts from within Israel. There are those outside, but there are those from within Israel that are saying about this decision by Netanyahu to expand the operations onto the Lebanon. It represents like some major challenge for the United States. So in other words, in a simple term, Netanyahu wants to pull the US into a conflict in Lebanon with Hezbollah. And by the way, there was a communication between the United States and Hezbollah behind closed doors. It always did. No matter what you hear. I'm telling you, based on experience, that's no different than the conversation, yes, the US administration had with the Houthis behind closed doors. So, because we wanted to ask the Houthis to tone it down as far as the attacks, and the Houthis said, I don't think so. I don't think so, because we couldn't defeat the Houthis in the Red Sea. There is the same arguments can be made about Hezbollah. And the US, to my knowledge, and again, my sources are, the people that I trust. I mean, if they deceive me on this once, that's all it takes with me. You deceive me once, we're done. So my sources is that the idea that the conversation between the US and Hezbollah is that the US saying to the Hezbollah, we don't want to get involved here. So making it clear to Hezbollah that the US doesn't want to get involved into this. So Israel now is hesitating because he can't go alone by itself, because it knows what the consequences. And this is why you are seeing this push by Netanyahu towards the war, to further, because it will be a further regional escalation, and that's going to be possibility of becoming an international and an open conflict. And this is where I see, and I agree with those analysts, either inside Israel or outside, that really reach these conclusions, because I reached the same conclusion as well. And I've mentioned this on the record here in some videos that I did before. And all this, as I mentioned, all this was mentioned before the arrival of the U.S. envoy to Lebanon. His name is Amos Hoshaitin. So he's the one that wants Lebanon to sort of calm down. The same thing you're hearing now from, what's his name, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, addressing the Lebanese people. Because remember, Lebanon is also a client of France, because France was occupying part of Lebanon. That's why French language is spoken in Beirut. So. And he was an expert inside Israel by the name of Mahmoud Yazbek, And he argued, and I couldn't agree more, because to me, you guys know me, I give credit where credit is due. I don't care where the person is from. So, and he said, and I quote, "This new escalation by Netanyahu means, according to what Israeli military analysts said, at the behest of Netanyahu's office, that he will end the war in Gaza Strip within months and start a new war in Lebanon." End of quote. What are the odds of that? Because it's not a laughable matter. It's just the idea that looks ludicrous. You couldn't defeat Hamas, and you are thinking on embarking on another war against Hezbollah. I mean, if we are to ask, and I do not know the answer definitively. What I know is both entities have the capabilities, meaning Hamas and Hezbollah have capabilities. But if you are to compare the two, I can't answer that directly, because each one of them has certain type of capabilities. Well, if Israel couldn't defeat Hamas, what makes them think that they could defeat Hezbollah? Knowing that it was Hezbollah who kicked Israel out in 2006. That's what it says. That's what happened back then. So, and of course, it was even here in the U.S. You have a certain analyst here arguing. For example, I came across a white paper that I read. It was short, so I read it briefly by some expert. There was a guy by the name. What was his name? Stephen Hayes. Stephen Hayes is a researcher for the international affairs stuff. And he argued, and I couldn't agree more. He argued that Netanyahu's decisions are taken in a vacuum, end of quote. Well measured and straightforward, because Netanyahu seems to be just reacting to whatever events going on. So because to me, just common sense. You didn't deal with the Gaza issue, and now you have the West Bank. What makes you think you're going to be able to manage West Bank, Gaza conflict, in addition to Hezbollah, in addition to the Houthis? And we are not even talking Iran yet. So let me just put the map again, just to show you guys where those locations are. I don't know if it shows here. Yeah. Pardon me, right there. You see where West Bank is. You see where Gaza Strip. Okay. So if you are to think about Netanyahu thinking in those terms of, well, now I can go to Lebanon. Well, you didn't even finish these issues here. What makes you think that it's going to be safe for you? And this is why, and I couldn't agree more with Mr. Hayes, that the decisions are made in a vacuum. So, and of course, this is without reference to Washington. On the other hand, you have to look at it differently. And the way you look at it differently is that Netanyahu's statements and decisions are a direct challenge to the United States. Because of one reason and one reason only: the timing of it. Remember, we are coming closer to presidential elections. Even both presidents. You all know where I stand on that. There's deficiency in leadership across the West. That reminds me of Germany. I read another article yesterday about Germany. Germany now is waking up to the economic devastation they are realizing. The stupidity of the leaders. So, and this is where you think about, for example, what happened with the pagers. You're all familiar with what happened with that. I know I didn't do a video on it. I didn't want to, but I will highlight some key aspects to it. So, what the pager that was in use called the Gold Apollo. I think I have a picture. Nope, no picture here. I thought I did have a picture. Hold on a second, guys. Yes, I do have a picture. I just didn't upload it. Let me show you. Very it's taking place regarding that. Here's the picture, guys. Pager. This is called the Gold Apollo. It's the Gold Apollo is a Taiwanese company, by the way. Is the one that produced this particular device. Now, there is an investigation going on into this AR 924 pager model. That's the one you're looking at. So they are now conducting an investigation. But here is the key. Here's what I need you to understand about in a short, brief, concise description here. There's pager issues. There were two companies, to my knowledge, ICOM and this one right here from Taiwan. Now I'm going to focus on the Taiwan one. No, the Taiwan was a contract signed that, logistically speaking, that those pagers were supposed to be received about 6 months ago into Lebanon. Because here's the thing: Hezbollah uses this type of devices for the communication because it's a low and will not be susceptible to surveillance or eavesdropping and so on and what have you. So what happened with when the Taiwanese company signed this deal, whatever, it turned it over to another company in Prague, in Hungary. So So the Hungarian-based company called BAC Consulting KFT, that's the one that produced and sold the pager. The technology came from the Taiwan company. The Prague company, the Hungarian-based company, produced it. So the question for us becomes, which is any one of us will have to ask that question. When you look at the process of producing a product, so you have, of course, the design, you have the manufacturing, you have the logistics, the logistics, the transport, and the delivery. So the question becomes, at what stage do you think those pagers were compromised? Because it has to be a stage somewhere. If it was done at the beginning of the manufacturing of the product, that means that Taiwanese were aware of the explosives being implanted or included inside the device. Okay. If it happens during the logistics, that means that during the transport, someone had access to the information, the logistic information, the timing, and so forth, and intercepted that particular delivery, went ahead and insert the explosives, still put it back, and send it, kept it on its trajectory. So, and this is why the Taiwanese company is now launching this investigation to see. And the only thing I need you to understand is that Hezbollah did requested the shipments from the Taiwanese company. They didn't request the shipments from the Hungarian-based company. It was from the Taiwanese company, Gold Apollo. So, and that's why I'm saying now they're going to be, because the company was involved in the manufacturing of about 3,000 units or devices, according to the last agreement they just signed. So the Hungarian-based company, the Taiwanese granted them the license to manufacture the device and use the name of the Taiwanese companies. So that's why it's very, very intricate, complicated. Of course, this one was involvement of the Israeli military intelligence. Amen. Not the Mossad, to my knowledge. So of course, there is one particular information I couldn't confirm, which from Hezbollah. Hezbollah stated that 11 of its members were killed on Tuesday. I couldn't confirm that, but also don't see any reason why will Hezbollah lie about something like this. I don't know. That's why I just wanted to share it with you and go from there. So the idea of how this works, it was through an encrypted code. And that code, that's what makes me think about this has to be interrupted during the logistical transitory of the product and reprogrammed through this way, because all it took is one code to activate all the devices. So, and by the way, it was about 1 to 2 ounces of explosives. Was it TNT? I don't know. Was it Semtex? I don't know. It was not disclosed, and I do not know. So now here is the other, well, not surprising to me. So the Americans were aware of the operation because Israel briefed the Israelis, briefed the Americans about the operation. So the US had a previous knowledge about this, that the small explosives were hidden inside the pagers that were detonated. So because it was also known that Hezbollah was using all this, so now they're going to have to change. It's going to be a major shift now from all, and even put question mark the credibility of the Western devices now. Even an iPhone, you're going to now. Of course, we don't know about the spying that goes on iPhones and so forth. So now that's going to lead now to Hezbollah to be thinking in terms of how they're going to be now moving forward with this. Because this is going to change the equation for everybody. It exposes now certain aspects that's going to have to be dealt with. So, all right, guys, that's all I have to share with you. As promised you at the beginning, I'm going to answer some of your questions here, and we just go from there. And remember, just tomorrow, to check out that video. I'm going to be releasing at 7:30, and also I will be setting up my conversation with Kaza. And to all those, I don't know if you were here yesterday, I mentioned something about my Asia trip. It's coming up soon. Once again, Hamad Sidi, I can't thank you enough, man, for your generosity. I'm so grateful. And of course, grateful to all others that have been supporting this Asia trip from. And again, in due time, I am going to say what's need to be said about the community for this support, because I wanted to make it clear and on the record that this is not supported by some government or some entity or it's supported by you, the community. So I'll address that one in due time. So, all right, let me take a look at a question from you guys, if you have any here, and I'll be happy to go from there. So. All right, let me see some stuff here. YT, I saw this. It's not a question, but I just saw this. That reminds me of Egypt decision now to go with purchasing the JT fighter jets from China. Very, very, very major. Okay, let me see a question from you guys. Orel, thank you so much for sharing this. Hi, David. I am from Sweden. I do remember you, Orel. I have been in northern cities like Haparanda in Finland, I believe, and Pajala of Sweden this summer. I have seen many military vehicles at night going to Finland border. Something big will happen, Well, of course. And by the way, guys, I am thinking about down the road my next trip, because I'm going to be doing trips to provide you insights from the locations where I'm going to be doing. And my next, I am just thinking for now, nothing confirmed. I will communicate with you. But my next one will be to Finland and Sweden. I'm aware of what's taking place into that part. Even during my recent conversations in Eastern Europe and near the Baltic Sea about what's going to be taking place in Finland and Sweden. And I am even thinking about going there physically, see with my own eyes, and report that to you. So one thing has to do with all this, Orel, is that the U.S. Agreement with Finland about the establishment of 15 military bases, U.S. Those are small, very small bases. We call them the FOB, forward military bases. So that's what it will be. So thanks for sharing that. All right, let me see a question here. If there is one question or two from you. Otherwise, once I'm done. Rafael, once again, thank you, man. Truly appreciate you. You put David Crockett knew General Houston will avenge his death. Santa Anna knew that General Houston will fight him. Putin is a shaky as granny. There are those who will say that. Yeah, I see your point, because how much can you be patient? But do we say the same thing about China? China's been patient with the Americans' provocations. So to me, I'm knowing what I know, I'm just thinking about the calculations that Putin is thinking about trying to avoid. But make no mistake that the Russians will turn on Putin if he doesn't act, which what you will expect from a leader of a country. So, but once again, thank you so much for your super sticker. Truly appreciate it. So I'm just reading some comments here and making sure that do not violate the community, sort of, at least for our community here, respect, because I will not tolerate that, and I will remove whomever I need to remove, because I just have no tolerance for that. Now, you're entitled to express your opinions. You don't have to agree with us here, as long as it's done respectfully. Simple as that. A real report, Dr. O, why Iran has not attacked. Yeah, a lot of people are asking questions. A lot of people. It's been now 40 days since since Ismail Haniya was taken out inside Tehran, and the Iranian government said, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. The only thing I can think of is that the Iranians are waiting to see, for first of all, the result of the presidential elections, because believe it or not, November will determine the course of action that's going to be taken on the global stage, and depending on who occupies the White House. That's one. Second, there could be, they wanted to see how far Israel is going to go, whether it's going to go into Lebanon or not. That's the only two reasons that I could think of. So, is Iran scared of Israel? I don't think so. That's the only answer that came to mind. I do know one thing for a fact, is that the US and Israel will not attack Iran directly, because they know the consequences also. So it'll be interesting to see what they're gonna decide. Timeline Dunkley. Is the Israeli president is trying to stay in power so he doesn't go to jail? That's one of the reasons. It's one, because the corruption charges, he is due to jail as long as he is not a prime minister. But as long as he is a prime minister, the jail will have to wait. So the longer he drags this, the longer he stays away from jail. But again, at some point, maybe the Israeli people will force him to resign. I don't know the dynamics inside. But once things start hitting hard inside Israel, it's like what happened with the Houthi missile. It really shook the Israelis to the core, because whoever thought? So that's the way I see it, and you're absolutely correct. So, all right, I'll take last question here, because I gotta go start working on a garden to get the crop ready for the season, because the fall you're gonna have to turn the soil and so forth. So that's my work this afternoon. Okay, I don't see any questions. Anyway, I'm gonna sign off here, and once again, thanks to all those who Rafael Leon, Daniela Mados, Boone, and Rafael again. Thank you all for your super. Oh, Iris Chu. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Truly appreciate you guys. Again, be on the lookout tomorrow for the video, and I look forward to seeing you next week. As always, remember, geopolitics impacts your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.